Hello, everyone. It's Thursday, the 4th of September. We're having a 1 o'clock meeting this week, which is a slightly different time to usual. And so this is recorded and we'll go on to the Love Movement recording. If anyone wants us to pause the recording at any point, then just let us know. And otherwise, I'm going to just go around people in the order that I can see you on the screen. Apart from, I can see that Rachel is having a little bit of an eat at the moment. So are you all okay to say anything first?
Do you want me to share first, Julie?
Yes, if you want to. Yeah.
Okay, so there's two big things on my mind at the moment. Number one is this whole digital ID, which is being bulldozed through on the back of the flags and the immigration issues. And it's an important thing because this weekend is the Reform Party political conference. I got a notification of that this morning, actually from the Liberal Democrats. So it's going to be a huge thing. I actually did a video on the Unified Kingdom flag, and it got a massive backlash on YouTube. So it's obviously a really hot subject, which is creating a lot of anger and division. And obviously, the whole thing, in my humble opinion, is a psyop designed so that they can just say, and in fact, it was already. I did actually share it on Telegram. There already was on mainstream media a piece, I think it was on Channel 4 or somewhere, or Sky News, saying, Macron said that the only way is to do is a digital ID, and that Starmer needs to introduce this, and it's the only way to control the immigration solution. So you can absolutely see they're trying to bulldoze through this digital ID off the back of this division and the flags. It's a massive psyop. The other big thing which I saw is Trump basically has announced that there will be a massive investigation into Pfizer and Operation Warp Speed. And then the head of Pfizer has basically said that Trump should be nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize for his role in pushing through Operation Warp Speed, which saved so many lives. So it's almost, it's like the powers that shouldn't be are kind of going crazy. Like, it's a really interesting to watch what's unfolding and how obvious it's all becoming. So those are my little topics I wanted to sort of throw into the mix today. So
Right.
thanks
Thank
for
you,
hosting.
Rachel.
I'm back
Yeah.
to my cookies.
Right. Thank you. Yeah. And this digital ID and everything else they're doing, to me, the more they emphasize racial stuff, the more racism they're causing. Same with gender and all that sort of stuff. Right, I have got my granddog here, so if I disappear from the screen, it's so I can let her out and let her in again and things like that. So I am still listening. Okay. Right, Edward, anything else you want to say or
Um,
you would like to say?
no, I would echo definitely the digital ID seems to be where we're all heading, and really got to oppose that. And that, yeah, it is difficult with all the different messaging that comes over the media, the flags. And but when you get to the bottom of it is definitely the case that the digital ID is being gradually brought in on many fronts. And how do you avoid that? Because even a company's house now need ID, so they're bringing it through in various channels. It seems to me, more and more ID for this and that, and then before you know it, they've sort of come at it from so many different directions. It's difficult to not get involved. So yeah, I can see that this is the big situation. And and the messaging that you hear is that people are genuinely concerned with immigration and hotels being taken over. That's for certain. But it does seem that there's this underlying deeper psyop, as we call it, that is in operation. So yeah, I think it is all about digital ID.
Yeah, and it's almost as if it's been deliberately done to bring these people into our country and take over, and that shouldn't be happening. And the company's house thing, it's really, I am totally backing off from any of that. And then they talk about sort of protecting us and things like that. This is just something I'm going to put out to everyone at the moment to think about. A lot of people are having cataract operations done and replacement lenses. Someone mentioned to me they wonder if that is part of the facial recognition stuff, because of course if it's an artificially inserted lens, it can't be changed in the same way that natural stuff can be. So, and we've got so many cameras that are going up in the environment, and yet they're trying to tell us to save energy and everything. So why are they wasting money just on those resources? Why have we got the electronic advertisement boards and the electronic telling you when the bus is coming or not? If we were really trying to save energy, we wouldn't be doing all that, would we? Yeah, right. So I'm going to go to Alan next, and I'm just going to go and close the door because the dog's come back in again.
Hello, and nice to see familiar faces. And I don't recall being in a meeting with Edward before, although forgive me if we have been. So Julie knows why I've been absent for a while and why I chose to disengage from a lot. And I'm happy outside of this meeting for Julie to share that information with people. So I have to be very careful about my own mental health and trying to maintain positive energies. Yeah, I have to be careful to avoid being pessimistic because I don't want to spread those kind of vibes. But that's one of the reasons that I've been absent for a while, because I just felt things were becoming, and for a long time ago, had become so hopeless and inevitable. So I want to thank people like Rachel and Julie and the others in this meeting, Roger and Edward and Michael, but you're not on Michael, are you? That's Michael's.
Carrie.
Yeah, it's Karen.
Carrie.
Yeah. So, yeah, just keep up the brilliant work, and I'm sorry that I can't help more, but if I don't, I'll do something.
Yeah, we've all got a different path in life, and it's really, we need to respect that as best we can. We have got to look after ourselves first, because if we don't look after ourselves first, we can't be there for other people. And
Yeah.
I know some of the stuff that's happening, including in my life, which I'm not going to share on here, but I'm glad I've been for some acupuncture today, and that's really helped me. And I'm taking my homeopathy and my rescue remedy, and that's helping me get through. So instead of tightening my jaw up and wrecking my teeth, I'm now, oh, it's okay, I'll keep yawning, and I don't mind if people think, why is she yawning so much? But thank you, Alan. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. And yeah, I know what you mean. So I'm looking after myself as best I can. Thank you all.
Yeah. And I'm really trying to use the concept of I'm riding the waves rather than riding the storm. Because if I see it as a storm, it feels more battering. And I'm like, right, I'm riding
Yeah.
the waves. Let's just go with the flow. And whatever anyone or anything is happening. And I'm when I'm driving out, because I had to drive about half an hour, well, just over half an hour to this appointment today, and seeing all the CCTV and everything like that. CCTV, I don't know if I've used the right terminology there, but I feel like that film where he's got his glasses on and he's seeing reality of all these adverts that are being portrayed. And it's like, right, just go to your breathing, Julie. Look after yourself. Be there as much as you can for everybody, but first look after myself.
Yeah,
So
that's right. And your metaphor about riding the waves is very apt. I'm a sea swimmer, and I've not been able to swim in the sea for the last couple of days. I'm hoping to get in again tomorrow, and that's part of what I do to look after myself.
yeah.
Anyway,
Well,
thanks all. Thanks all.
okay, thanks. And now going to Roger.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, and we can see you.
Oh, okay then. Well, there's quite a lot going on in my life at the moment. I was summoned to attend Harrogate Magistrates Court on the most recent Tuesday, just gone. And I didn't attend, even though they did say on the summons, if I don't attend, I may be arrested. So, you know, I've been a little bit anxious about that. Anyway, I'm still at liberty, so no problem. And you know, there's a lot of detail I've got with regard to my lawful absence at that court. But my ideas are unfortunately a little bit discombobulated. So I want to just give it a little bit of time. So the next meeting, I'll explain in more detail and definitely, you know, how we can avoid having to go to court without getting arrested for not going. It's really quite an exciting thing. But I'm not going to say too much more about that because I want to be absolutely combobulated in my ideas and certain of the information I'm giving is correct. So I'm sorry, you're just going to have to wait. But
We're all being taught patience and endurance, Roger, and that is definitely, and we will just keep sending our love to help you through this as well, and everybody else that's going through similar. So thank you. So in the pub last night, someone was talking about they can even know your registration number and check online to see if you're insured and if you've got an MOT for your car, your vehicle. I didn't know that. And they were all like, and someone had parked a car near the pub that I was in, and it's been there for a few days apparently, and they were starting to get all about it. But I'm glad they were, because now I know that that is possible. And then, but this is all part of the sort of trying to pretend people have got power when actually all they're doing is using adverse ways of us using our energy and our time, which blinkers everybody. So thank you, Roger, for that. Yeah.
Okay. So just hang fire, wait until I've got it all organised in my mind, and I'll report at the next meeting.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Okay, now I'm going to go to Carrie, see if there's anything she'd like to say today. And I'm glad that Rachel reminded me of her name. I mean, I know her name, but I'm useless at remembering names. And she's going to unmute Carrie. Yeah. Well done.
Hello. Yeah. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm back. Oh, dear. I'm glad everyone's not okay. My husband has just said that at a recent demonstration, the police were using pepper spray, which is illegal. But actually, he's just said that this is not illegal. Wasp spray. So just to let you know, wave the flag. Roger, you said you had a recent court case. I was just going to mention that some friends of mine were, because they hadn't paid their council tax for ages, were going to be made bankrupt. And they had an online court hearing. And because they both have registered as dormant companies with Companies House. They didn't speak, but all they did was they when it was their turn to say something, they just held up their certificates one at a time against the screen, and then the screen just went dead, and they never heard anything from the court. And that's 5-6 months, and nothing has happened. So I just wanted to mention that, because it might be
28 days.
they were meant to answer them within 28 days and let them know the decision. So that was I thought quite an interesting development, because we had a workshop and we all went round and we all joined on Companies House on the same day. So that does make a difference, as well as trademarking your name. And I think there was a case I saw on a podcast where a guy went to court and they said, "What is your name?" And he said, "I own my name." "What is your name?" "I own my name." And they kept repeating that. And in the end, the judge left the room, and that was the end of it. So I just mentioning this because we do still have power to step outside that jurisdiction. And also to remind people, or those that are not perhaps believing it, that we are in the matrix and we do make our own reality. And that's quite an important thing, I believe, because when there's a probability and the media get us to focus, or they try to get us to focus through mainstream media on certain negative aspects, then that probability becomes a possibility. So if we do the opposite and we concentrate on the good things and the positive things as much as we can, then those good positive probabilities become possibilities and then come into our reality. So I hope that will, give people a bit more hope about the situation, however dire it might seem. They're throwing everything at us because they know that we know, and that we're exposing it and it's out there. So they're probably in complete panic mode, hopefully. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Carrie. And I do feel as though there's so many people that are starting to realise, even that hadn't done before. And when we think of the natural laws of first do no harm, cause no injury, cause no loss. And I mean, the ridiculous things they've brought in, like even since 9/11, of the crazy way that if you go in abroad and you have to go through customs and everything, it's not been to help us. All it's been is to create shopping centres in once you've gone through customs and things, and that's just feeding them, isn't it? It's not for our safety. If it was for our safety, I wouldn't mind. It's like the speed that you drive on the road. It's not for our safety. They're just doing it to make us feel restricted. And then even if we need to drive a bit faster to make something safer, we're not allowed to. And then they try to take us to court or whatever. Right, I'm going to go to Rachel. Yeah.
I think that working on the premise that everything that the parasites do is not for our benefit, with a very big NOT, then we can sort of steer a course around that.
And that's why it's lovely that you've shared what you have done today to help empower people to realise. But I also know that any individual court situation, different people will behave with different dynamics. And sometimes they do stuff that they're not supposed to do, or they tease people into talking to them as they're leaving the court. And then if they talk back, apparently then they're pulled back into it, which even those little subtle bits is what everybody needs to know.
Yeah, we can land ourselves in a lot of hot water just by engaging.
Yeah.
It's like something trivial like TV license. We don't need one now, but we've had, like most people, constant stupid letters with red writing and harassment and all, and the enforcement agent is coming round. And well, we were in, and he obviously did come round, but he must have seen our notice of rights of access, and he just shoved it quickly through the letterbox, and he must have gone equally as quickly.
Yeah.
We're just piling them up and ignoring them.
And
once you engage with them, if you engage on the doorstep, then they're trying to find out what you are and aren't watching, because they haven't got any evidence unless they actually live with you, what you're actually watching and what you're not watching.
And it's ridiculous that they're even trying to include YouTube.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
It's just bullying and harassment.
Yeah.
We've got that at the moment on our park home. We've got new owners and they're bullying people, and their workmanship is shoddy, and we've had to get together as a committee and get the council and this goodness knows what body of people that help park home owners, because it's got quite nasty. They probably think we're just a load of old senile old gits and they can push us around, but I think they're going to realise that we're not.
Yeah, even the fact that you've got new owners sounds a bit like perhaps that was contrived who came to own it as well, because there's so much of that sort of stuff happening.
There's a lot of things changing. Yeah.
And TV license wise, I don't pay one because I do not watch the television. I don't want to be indoctrinated by them. 2 years ago, I had someone turn up on the drive, and he literally just left as soon as I said, no, I don't watch television.
Yeah, so they're only agents.
Yeah, he was a really nice guy. And now, of course, I'm on the 2 years after and I'm still not watching it. So we'll wait and see if someone turns up. Anyway, Carrie, I'm going to go to Rachel now.
Okay, thank you.
Hand up for a bit. I'll come back if needed with everybody. Right, Rachel?
Yeah, I just wanted to agree, like, it's absolutely out of control. The powers that be in the governments, and the idea that they have got control and can tell us what to do, can tell us how fast we should go on the roads, you know, I mean, provided we're causing no harm, injury or loss. All of these speed cameras, they're just a money-making scam, as we know. And that's why what Roger's doing is so key, and also what you were saying, Carrie, about going, you know, finding these loopholes, like creating your own company in your name. I did that one too myself, but I haven't tried it in court, but that's a good one. It's so important for us to learn how to stand in our rights, because for everything now, I'm just like, I'm prepared to go to court. I'm going to stand in my rights and challenge this, and I'm prepared to go to court. And actually, I just know this from dealing with the courts because I challenge everything, whether it's civil or speeding or whatever. The courts are absolutely in chaos, turmoil. I know for Rog, they've relisted you, Rog, in February. Like, that's a long time away. I know when Edwards, he got his trial by jury, that was like, I think 18 months. And I'm doing a civil challenge, a civil, you know, an energy bill challenge at the moment. It's an absolute nightmare, the hoops that they're making me jump through, because I'm entering an appeal, and they say, oh, to enter an appeal, you've got to pay a court fee of like £150 or something. So I paid that. And then it's like, oh, the judge has ordered that you need to deliver a transcript of the hearing, the original hearing, into the court to enable us to consider your appeal. And you have to apply for a transcript. So I get this transcript thing back, £720. Now, bear in mind that this is all AI technology. It doesn't cost £720 to get a transcript of something. I mean, YouTube do it to videos the whole time. They're constantly scanning to see what you're saying, to see if it matches the algorithm or not. So the whole thing is an utter scam. And, you know, and it's just these courts, they're literally businesses, especially the civil courts. It's just a giant business that is just sucking money out of both the people who are making the claim and who are defending the claim. And the backlogs are just the administrative backlogs. If you've ever dealt with it, like the Civil National Business Centre or any of the courts, they are absolutely inundated and cannot cope with the levels of work. So it's obvious that these bills are being spat out like by the million by all these cameras everywhere, speeding fines and this fines and ULEZ and clean air zones and all this bullshit. And people are just challenging them right, left, and centre. So I really do, in terms of visioning the future we do want, just visioning the total collapse of the system. You know, the prisons are completely full. They're having to tag prisoners now, apparently, and they're looking all schemes like that. You know, Starmer cannot just bully his way through and put everyone in prison. So maybe rather than put everyone in prison, just make the United Kingdom into a prison with digital ID. It's almost like an easier solution. Just put everyone in prison on this island, because you can't get off unless you've got a digital ID.
That's in effect what they're doing, though, Rachel.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's out of control.
Yeah.
But I do agree with Carrie. Let's just keep energizing the future we do want, and let's not play into their hands. So just keep pattern interrupting, keep challenging, keep throwing spanners in the works, you know, all the way through, and questioning and breaking the pattern, the mass formation psychosis. And I think so many people are waking up now to the bullshit. Yeah. I mean, just this thing, sorry, just to finish, because Roger's got his hand up, but just this nonsense. At the time, I didn't realise, but looking back, I remember when that bomber got on the plane with some piece of liquid, and then suddenly, because I was flying up to Aberdeen, and I bought a lipstick, a Clinique lipstick, the most innocent, tiny little lipstick. I bought it at the airport as I arrived, and then on the way back to fly home, because I only had hand luggage, I didn't have a check-in bag. They're like, no, you've got to put the lipstick, you've got to put it in the bin. I'm like, it just cost me 25 quid. At the time I used to buy makeup stupidly. And it was absolutely ridiculous. They would not let me on the plane with this frickin' tiny little lipstick still in its case. And like it was some kind of bomb in it or something. It was just like a form of insanity, which is...
And it is crazy. I mean, I used to travel with a penknife always in my rucksack, which of course was my hand luggage. I didn't even think of it as being that. This is before you'd even got a weight limit on your suitcase. And I forgot last year when I was going skiing, I'd put the penknife into a shoe that I put in the suitcase, and then I transferred the shoe into my hand luggage by mistake, including the penknife. They confiscated it and wouldn't let me have it back, and I was so cross. And you know, if someone really wanted to kill somebody, they wouldn't even need a penknife or anything. You know, I could use a pen or something. And I used to, when they first started doing that, I knew that if you split a CD in half, you could actually cut someone with that. And if we wanted to do that, you know, even wearing a scarf, you could strangle someone wearing whatever you've got. So they're not doing it for safety. And anyone that wants to do these adverse things will do them anyway. And quite often they're tracking them. And when you think about the prisons and keeping the people in prison for doing social media stuff, and yet people that have raped and killed even are being let out a lot sooner. It's just
absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
Bonkers.
And when you look at what Starmer and people are doing, I mean, hopefully, ultimately, they will go to prison, but we'll wait and see on that one. Yeah, so I'm going to come to Roger very soon. And Dan, if you do want to say anything, please do put your hand up. Just very briefly, I'm going to mention this morning, in 1987, someone wanted to have a home birth, as in pregnancy and giving birth, and they literally ended up, through the doctors, had to apply to the House of Commons to be allowed it. I didn't know that was happening. And yet, she ended up actually having a cesarean for various reasons, but she'd already got permission to do the home birth thing. But that will have caused stress during pregnancy. Crazy. Right, anyway, going to Roger.
Okay, well, let's see, am I unmuted?
Yes, you are. Yeah, we can hear you well.
Okay. Anyway, I don't want to keep everybody in such dire suspense You know, so I'm going to give some detail about what I've done already. So I'm taking a different route to Rachel, but I'm pleased that she's going the way she is, because she's still, pursuing a trial by jury.
We
But mine
need
is
variety, Roger, don't we? Because then we know we've got different angles, and then they know we know we've got different angles to come from. So it's really
right.
good that we've got that variety. Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, but my standpoint is that I'm getting out of their jurisdiction. I am not now in their jurisdiction, and I'm going to have to, as I say, organize my thoughts a little bit better to be able to explain all this. But as I agree with everything Rachel's been talking about just now. You know, everything is in chaos. The courts, you see, are all limited companies. And as limited companies, they're not allowed to have jurisdiction over anybody. They are not, I mean, can McDonald's summons you to their court? It's the same thing. And so, to some extent, I'm also coming from that angle, because these courts, magistrates' courts, and probably I think also all courts, Crown courts, High courts, they're all companies. And with the two, I'm working now with somebody called Blue Boar of England and another man who's his friend, whom I call Expert Lawman. I don't want to give his name because he's had several assassination attempts, and I don't want to endanger his life, so I'm not going to give his proper name. As far as I'm concerned, he's the Expert Lawman. So I'm working with these two men, and they're guiding me on what to do, and giving me templates of letters that I've had delivered to the court by a lovely lady. She, you know, just with no charge for her time. She's just been taking because having no car, I can't do it myself. So I'm very fortunate to have this beautiful, generous lady. Anyway, so the point is, and this is the interesting thing, the court has been sent 2 letters delivered by hand by my friend, which accuses them of fraud. I mean, how can a private limited company claim to be, an arm of law? Cannot. So that's the interesting thing. I just wanted to tell people. Firstly, that I'm now out of their jurisdiction, which is, of course, is legislation, and that these magistrates' courts are unlawful and fraudulent, and I've written letters, indicting them of that. So,
and the more people that know that and express it in the ways that feels right for them, the better. And I do feel as though they're starting to realise how people are realising what's going wrong, and but there's still, we've got to face it with love, not fear, and just keep standing our ground, keep strong, keep connecting with like-minded people enough so that we aren't having it put on us that we're the crazy ones. And I say crazy is creative. So, even if someone tries to criticize me for that, it's like, well, no, because I know better about real life than what you're having put on you by all this legislation, by the sirens that are playing at 7 o'clock in the morning. That, why do we need to keep listening to sirens all the time in our environment? 7 o'clock in the morning, would something really be happening that needed sirens on? And it isn't. It just is not right. And I know, as courts wise, I know what I went through with my divorce, and I went through a considerable lot. And even then, I realised it was such a ridiculous system. Another word came to my mind, but I didn't say it just then. I do swear quite a lot these days, but I'm not going to swear at the moment on that one. So thank you, Roger, for that. And I don't know if anyone's seen anything to do with Alex Belfield, because he's done quite a few videos recently, and he seems like he's positively asserting, and I'm glad that he feels able to, even though he's got them hanging over him in lots of ways. But because I saw him just before he was taken into prison, before he'd been to Mansfield, and he was such a lovely, gentle soul and was speaking a lot of truths. And so I'm sure that's, from what I've seen, he's continuing to do that. Right, I'm going to go to Dan, just in case you want to say anything, Dan. And if you don't want to, that's fine as well.
Hi, nothing to say today, just listening, thanks.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. And obviously, if you don't want to talk about it, please do just put it in the chat, because I've got the chat up so I can see it, hopefully, as we go along. Now, interestingly, I don't know if people have heard of Dolores Cannon, but I was watching something very recently that she'd even predicted the chaos that we're going through. And I think the yearing was in 25, 26. So we're still carrying on riding the waves, okay? I know that we've still got stuff to go through. But what I'm looking forward to is we'll have proper healthcare in our proper national healthcare service, including complementary therapies such as reflexology and properly respectful massage and much more, and a lot of natural healing ways. And that we'll have a proper approach with legality that only needs the natural laws, or whatever equivalent you want to call any of those. So cause no harm, cause no injury, cause no loss. Honour each person as an individual and support them in positive ways to integrate into their community and communities enough. And that's really where we need to be coming from. Now then, we're on sort of 22. Is there anything anyone else wants us to cover or talk about now? Rachel's put a hand up, and then Carrie, I'll go after, and Edward. Right, I'll go to Rachel first, and I'll put myself a note, Carrie, and then Edward. Yeah.
Yeah, just wanted to add to your list of health and justice, education, another huge one, of the reforming the education system. It's quite interesting here because I'm close to Dartington Hall, and I went to see a film there about the heritage, because in 1925 it was taken over by the Elmhursts, and one of the things they did was create a school there, which was really radical for its time, and it was all about teaching the arts and music and the importance of arts and music alongside all of the maths and English sort of things, and about treating children with kindness. And it was the reason it was established was because Leonard Elmhurst, the founder, had gone through public school and state boarding school, and had the most horrific 10 years of his childhood living it, just like crying himself to sleep every night. It was horrific if you read his story. And so education and moving from indoctrination into really nourishing education for our children, which I know a lot of these homeschooling, which Lynn has done, and also things like Hope Community and forest schools and all of this natural schooling is so important for us to really bring our children up with love and peace in their hearts. Yeah,
and this is where, I mean, I teach infant reflexology and infant massage, which is teaching the parents to be able to do that with their children, and we need to be teaching children that as well. So I have taught massage in schools before. We as adults weren't allowed to touch the children at all, but we helped the kids to work on each other clothes. So I'm also a fully trained and professional qualified teacher, lower primary trained, and I've taught all ages, including special needs coordination and teaching and assessing specific learning difficulties, including dyslexia. I left teaching because national curriculum had just come in as I started doing my training. Even when I did the teaching and assessing dyslexia stuff, they knew it was out of date. And I'm like, and I'm having to do this and jump the hoops on a master's degree thing for that. And it's just so wrong. and we don't need prison-like schools. But I had a child the other day say to me, we have to have the gates locked because otherwise the autistic children tried to escape. If they were doing the right thing in the schools, the kids would not be trying to escape. They wouldn't be bums on seats with far too much standardized testing. They would be learning for life and ideally out in their community so that they don't feel like they need to go and wreck even the local park or whatever, doing whatever things they do, because they'll know to use their energy in a positive way to actually help and improve the local environment instead of wrecking it. But they're only doing that because the bums on seats, then when they get out, they've got so much energy that they don't know what to do with, and they're not taught properly what to do with it. They're just told they've got to comply and do what they're told. And yeah, I even know of someone recently, her child is just going up into year 1, and on the introduction day last year to the new teacher, he was sent to sit on a different table because he wasn't behaving, because she'd given some really formal stuff for them to do. Yeah, surely it was a day when they were supposed to be getting to know their new teacher, not being sent off because they've not behaved. So she obviously wasn't interacting properly with the kids anyway. I'd love to know what kids thought of my way of teaching, but it was quite different to people's. Right, thank you very much, Rachel, because I had meant to mention the education system, because, education and healthcare need to go together. Yeah, it's like a no-brainer. Right, okay, Roger, what would you like to say?
Well, I just want to remind everybody about Rachel and I's presentation in York on the 16th of May next year. And Rachel's taking her route through the courts, and I've no doubt she's going to relate to everybody about her journey through the courts. And from my point of view, I shall be expressing my journey through the courts. And people will learn how to convert into a different jurisdiction and be able to avoid all these unlawful penalties that are being imposed by crooked, fraudulent courts. So I just wanted to mention that. I'm going to keep mentioning that. We don't have a lot of seats available, unfortunately, but
hopefully there'll be some recordings as well to be able to share with people, but it's also lovely to meet up properly physically with people as well, and it's a completely different dynamics when you are physically together. Yes, Rachel, did you want to just come in on that?
We're going to live stream it, just to say, for anyone who can't make it to York, we're going to live stream it.
Brilliant. And that also, it's the wonders of technology being used technologically intelligently instead of artificially intelligent.
Just a reminder that Carrie wanted to speak as well, Julie.
Yeah, I'm going to Carrie next. She's my next on my list. Yeah. Okay. So Roger, is that enough? Because I've got Carrie and then I've got Edward.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, Carrie.
Okay. Following on from education, Julie, I've actually formed my own private association, and that's all I've typed out because I got it off the internet as to what to do, with aims and profile and all that. No names mentioned of anybody in, because it's a private association, nobody's business. And at the moment I'm only teaching one child, home educating, but that might take off, escalate a bit, word of mouth. These things do happen, but it's very rewarding. And also another subject, there's been several podcasts by a chap called Kevin Annett, that's ANNETT. He's written a book called Murder by Decree, and if you haven't come across him, he has gathered
so much
3 different crucial types of evidence against the Vatican. Big stuff. And I think it's due around about the 13th of September, but he's got victims and he's got whistleblowers, and they're all under protection. And it's it's all going ahead as far as I know, and he's got top lawyers and all the rest of it. So that might be very interesting. And I think that's about the same day that there's a big rally in London, which everybody probably knows about, where they're,
Tommy Robinson.
with Tommy Robinson, and he's made it clear that he wants everybody to stay calm and peaceful and not wear masks or balaclavas, but just to show solidarity that, British people are standing together. And I think they are coming together big time. And then there was somebody just mentioned, I think it was a penknife you had going through customs. Well, when I was working in the prison service, an officer was stabbed by an inmate with a sharp pencil. So proving the point that, anything is a weapon if it's used as a weapon. And also Cabby, for those of you who belong to Cabby, they do have a healthcare sort of online thing at certain dates. If you look on their website, there should be dates about. They do a farmers one with food security, and they do a healthcare one as well. So that might be useful for anybody who's interested.
Right.
Okay, so onwards and upwards.
Yeah, thank you. And
Okay,
it's
thanks.
wonderful that you're giving us that information, and we can all keep uniting. And hopefully, even if we've not got it locally to us, it might even inspire some people to be able to do something local very proactively. Right, I'm going to come to Edward. We're on 10 to now, so got about 10 minutes left.
Okay, quick. Yeah, I'm a member of a chess club, which you may have heard of that term. And people there meet once a month, and the people there are doing a variety of things, affidavits, some people. There's another chap, fighting through the court at the moment because he hit the council tax. He's been struck. He's got a liability order that he wants to strike out, so that's a magistrate's court. And also he's fending off bankruptcy they want to try and make him bankrupt as well, but he's doing that from a common law point of view. But there are other people in the group who haven't paid council tax, etc., and they haven't sort of had any interaction at all. They've just, so it's interesting the variety of ways that people are interacting with the authorities or have set things up themselves. Then you mentioned about the cataract. Interestingly, a lady yesterday just mentioned, I do a bit of ballroom dancing, and it was a ballroom dancing teacher who said, hang on, I'm having a cataract operation, but I've never heard of this before, but they've told me about a new procedure, inserting a stent, they called it, in my, so maybe that's the same. It's interesting you should mention that, so I can feed in that I've heard of that. Another point with the NHS, a lady who I know from Stand in the Park, her daughter has just given birth and was put under tremendous pressure to be vaccinated, her baby to be vaccinated. Luckily, with help from the group, that was averted, just giving her the right information so that she could combat that. But unfortunately, they recommended that she should have folic acid or some sort of, but it was it should have been, her mum recommended, hang on, you've got to take folate. I may have this wrong, but she shouldn't have taken the acid that they recommended because it meant her baby was, this is a side effect, was tongue-tied. Therefore, the tongue had to be released, and that prevented the breastfeeding. So the baby is now, unwell from time to time. Was admitted, I think, last week to A&E. So it just shows that very much you have to stand your ground in every area, NHS, and even if you get one aspect right, you could have problems elsewhere. I again about the Sunday, this protest in a week on Sunday. No, week on Saturday. Yeah, it seems to be definitely out there in the wider community as well. I've heard, people I work with saying their parents or people they know are going there, and it's a tricky one to know whether it is it's. I agree totally with protesting with the government, but you just can't quite work out whether the flag thing, whether there's a negativity involved that isn't what we want. Although I myself was on the protest on the vaccine anti-COVID
So
protests.
Edward, I don't know if you know, but when years ago when they were starting to bring CCTV into communities, what was happening was they were deliberately sending gangs of youths to certain places to cause problems so that the local people would ask to have CCTV. And I experienced that where I was living just over 3 years ago, and someone was ex-policeman was trying to really push having CCTV up there. And I just ended up having to message everybody else behind the scenes to say, look, please do not get incited by this. What he is saying is not true. And supposedly someone had something stolen, and turned out they had 2 police went up the same day. It was only a handbag that was supposedly stolen, and she found it behind a coat. So it hadn't even gone missing properly. And then once I moved out of there, he tried again. So again, luckily I was still on the WhatsApp group, and I sort of did say, please calm, you don't need intrusive cameras watching you. So thank you. Anything else, Edward?
No, I think that's it. I was just feeding in on various things. I do echo the first comment that digital ID seems to be the big thing to combat.
Keep standing up against,
standing up against, and obviously common, definitely standing in your sovereignty. I was going to mention, actually, I know a church that I go to every now and then where all the families are homeschooling, which is good. So that's very good.
Some homeschooling teenagers actually pass GCSEs and stuff like that at younger ages than they do if they were in normal schools. And that speaks volumes. And so they're still sort of jumping some of the hoops that are needed. But also it shows that, actually, you've been homeschooled and you managed to pass that at a younger age than would normally happen. So it's incredible, isn't it? And I went to a protest gathering, which at the time I just call it a gathering, but quite often Carrie, I've got you down for after Roger now, in Oxford, and it was interesting because they'd had permission to go a certain distance, and then just happened to be outside an NHS building with a big green space, and we'd have these 4 police horses that had been in the area that we'd all gathered before we started, and then they led us through, and we carried on going, and then we were supposed to be going even further, and for some reason the horses went to the side, and I'm like, why have they gone to the side if we're still supposed to be going over there? The people organising the gathering came to us and said, basically they were trying to get us to incite and argue because we weren't being allowed as far as we should have been, and they said we don't want to create any aggression, so we're just leaving it here. And so we all just dispersed, and I'm really glad that they did it in the way that we did, and we didn't get incited by them. So everybody needs to know that there will be things that they will try and spike you with, and you really need to hold your space. And I know when I go to any gathering, I'm very much sort of watching and holding the space with love, not fear, and bringing healing in and things like that, and helping to hopefully keep it calm. So thank you, Edward. Anything else you want to say before I go to Roger and then Carrie?
Okay. No, thanks.
But thank you very much as well, Edward. That's really helpful. Roger.
Well, I think I've sparked some interest for people with my journey through the courts. And so I don't want people to be disappointed. I'll be in Thailand for the next meeting, and I'm hoping I'll be able to join, but I've never joined this Zoom from Thailand before. So if I don't manage to get on in the next meeting, I'll certainly be on the next meeting to give all the details.
Right, okay, so the next meeting is actually going to be Friday, the 12th of September instead of Thursday, because I can't make the Thursday, I'm afraid, but it will be 12 o'clock, 12 noon, Friday the 12th of September. So all the 12s there. So 12 noon on the 12th of September, the Friday. Okay, and then Roger will join us if and when he can. Okay, thank you, Roger. And
Okay.
I'm going to carry now.
Okay, very quickly, the question of the baby that was tongue-tied, this might or might not be useful, but cranial osteopathy is extremely beneficial for children who can't feed. I know because it happened to my grandson when he was born. And in New Zealand, I think they still do cranial osteopathy on all newborns because it's recognized that, after the trauma of birth, when their head gets squashed, they do sometimes have problems in that area. And the other thing I was going to say was that a lot of us are going over to Signal instead of WhatsApp. It's the same kind of thing, but WhatsApp, the founder, sold it for 19 million to Meta, so it's probably not going to be encrypted in the future, even if they say it is.
Carrie, if I could come in on that, my
Yes.
friend used to be on the dark web years ago. This is before all of this was happening. I'm talking, well over a decade ago. I said to her, because she was trying to get me to go on it, do you know, if I was the adverse powers that be, I'd be watching that place more than the other places. So just be mindful, because
Okay, yeah.
I know when the doctors first, GPs first got computers, my doctor shared with me that he'd been told that even if he deletes stuff, they can still find it.
Mm.
And I know I've known a computer whiz who someone was having significant problems. This is well over a decade ago, no, probably more than 20 years ago, actually. And someone was having significant problems with the computer and it really just wasn't working at all. And he managed to get it and retrieve all the information. And so just be mindful of what you do say if you do say anything on any social media.
Yes.
But also, we know that they can actually edit stuff, even things that, we haven't written. And I know on Facebook, someone has used my own photo to set up a Facebook thing. And I reported it to Facebook and Facebook would not take it down.
No, that happened to my sister. Yeah.
And so how do they know even, that it's me? Because, I mean, these days they could even do a digital me that's supposedly saying what I'm saying. We've seen enough videos of people like Starmer that, well, is
obviously,
really
yeah.
saying that? Yeah.
Well,
So
everything is, that we do online is stored in great big factories, costing a lot of electricity and all the rest of it, to be used possibly against us at a future date, but who knows?
Yeah. And it's really be mindful wherever you're putting anything.
Yeah. Well, we tend to talk in code, and we have various things that we say that probably can't be deciphered, certainly not by AI, because they're not that clever.
Yeah.
And the final thing I wanted to say was everyone seems to be focused on digital ID, but I don't think we should perhaps be focusing on it as much. We should be perhaps focusing on the fact that it's not going to happen and it's all going to go tits up and oh, what a shame. Because that might actually be effective if we all do it, and I'm sure there's lots of other people doing it, to visualize an outcome where it's not going to be effective.
And also we know that whenever they're trying to push something that they know is going to create a lot of aggravation or whatever, they're trying to distract us from other things that they're pulling through and slipping it without us properly noticing. So we don't need to be overly focused on anything, particularly
No.
their distractions. And even things like, having to go to Signal instead. So someone wanted me to have a Proton email address, which I did, because otherwise it wouldn't email with me. So I have got one of those. And then I found out that that's actually what various of the government organisations use. So it's like, oh, you want me to go on there?
Well, to be very positive about just a little thing, we've had so much discord on our park home and everything, and they've not maintained it properly. But I always think what's positive, and the positive thing is, because they hadn't been spraying weed killer and chopping things back as much, we've got loads of butterflies and bees and even some stick insects.
Well, to me, we don't want
I discovered, and
we should not be
crickets and all sorts. So to me, that's it's annoying in a way, but that's the positive side of it, is that we've got some lovely.
I would not say it's
lovely
annoying
creatures.
to not have weed killers, but I would say, it's like with the local council, they should be trimming the sides of the paths, not weed killing them. And they're even weed killing.
Well, I told them not to use it because there's about 20 cats on site, but it's good that this year we've had a profusion of lots of lovely insects and more of a balance in nature. So that's good.
Wonderful.
Okay.
And also it sounds like it's helped you as a community come together to know what you're really bothered about.
Absolutely.
Right, I'm very aware that we've just gone 2:00. Anyone?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Carrie. Anyone want to say anything before we finish? Right. So thank you very much, everyone who's joined us.
Thanks.
Thank you to Rachel for recording it. Thank you for everyone who's watching it. So the next one for us, Love, Liberation, Opportunity, Vitality, Empowerment, getting together, will be Friday the 12th of September at 12 noon. Okay, so thank you very much, and just wait on while we let Rachel finish the recording in case anyone wants to say anything after. So don't cut us off.